Hi there. Today, I'm so excited to talk to you about marketing mistakes that businesses make and how to avoid them. And I'm going to share lots of examples of like real world mistakes that I've seen. I'm going to protect the wicked, but we are going to talk about real world examples and then how to avoid them. My name is Lydia Martinez. I'm the owner and founder of Elle Marketing and Events. And one of the biggest things that I see businesses make as far as big marketing mistakes is not having an actual strategy. And not just not having a strategy, but not sticking to it. So once upon a time, I was brand new as an agency business owner. So I was really selling people on the concept and the idea of what my services were, what value I was offering. And I had a client that was very different from my usual set of clients. And she had a type of service that I wasn't very familiar with, but marketing principles apply. I thought I could do it. So she was a pet psychic. And I sat down and I worked with her on all of her strategy. She was great with animals. She struggled a little bit with people, and she wanted me to create a strategy for her. But the flip side was she wasn't willing to listen. So I built this beautiful social media strategy for her. I trained her on how to execute it and implement it. I walked her through the why behind things. And then she said, nope, I'm not actually going to do this. I don't believe you that this will work. And it was a tried and true strategy that was just a degree of consistency, a degree of telling different stories, a degree of showcasing her work and worth and, client testimonials and things along those lines that would have helped her grow her business. She'd authored a couple of books, and she ended up not executing any of it whatsoever. And unfortunately, her business didn't end up growing as fast as she wanted. She'd kind of taken a gamble and quit her full-time job and was trying to get this going. And so she didn't stick to the strategy. As a matter of fact, she didn't even try the strategy long enough to see results. She tried it for about a week. And that's the trick, is marketing is not like a turn on the faucet and all of a sudden you get this flood of customers. Marketing is not sales. Marketing is about consistent execution of telling your story. And so if you don't stick with your strategy long enough to see it bear fruit over 3 to 6 to 12 months, then guess what? You're not going to get those sales from it. You're not going to build that reputation. People aren't going to know who you are and what you do and what sets you apart and why they should buy from you. So that is the number one mistake that I see people make. Number two, you need to know your audience. Who are you trying to reach with your content? I worked with a very well-known women's group. It was a nonprofit organization. They were working on creating equity within relationships between women in business. They were setting up trainers and mentors, but they also were big believers that part of that was raising awareness among men about how to be equitable towards women in the workplace. So they had kind of a two-pronged approach. And we were doing a series of videos for them. We started out talking to a lot of the women within the organization, the board members, the women who had been through their program, things like that. And then we realized, wait a second, because we're trying to reach both of these groups, we also need to do videos where it is some of the men that have been through the program. And we did some videos with the men kind of solo talking about it. And then we realized, we are alienating some people by doing this exclusively with men. And so then we pulled in and had these men having conversations on video with some of the women that they had mentored, supported, developed, and helped grow. And that hit the right note. It had a great impact. The stories were amazing. You could see the men who had worked directly with women and seen them grow, with the realization that they had some biases and some unconscious things going on that they had managed to diminish or erase. But you also saw these women feeling successful and supported for the first time in their careers by men who were their bosses or had authority over them in the workforce. And so that was something that was really interesting to see and to talk about, but it was knowing that audience, and it made a big, big difference in the actual video content that we were putting out there. Something else that's really important is, and a huge mistake that people make, is inconsistency in messaging. Inconsistency in your messaging creates this cognitive dissonance in your, in the people that you're trying to reach. It really does. And so they're like, I don't get it. I don't understand. I'm going to give you an example that happened like 2 minutes ago. I was in here in our live stream platform. We were getting ready to go live, and the person on my team that's doing the back-end admin of this was like, ooh, the title of this video is incorrect based on what we're actually going to talk about. And so I was like, oh, we have to switch it up then. Like, that was not in the plan. And this happens when you're putting out a ton of content every now and then. These things happen. It's not a big deal. But I was like, oh, we have to talk to the topic, because if I'm talking about something totally different, but our team, like the people seeing this, sees that there's a different topic, even if we can edit that later, that is inconsistency in messaging. We cannot do that when we are going live. She came up with a great solution. She was like, great, let's save this one for later. I'm going to put a pin in it, and we're going to edit this one to, we're going to push out a new one right away that is on the actual topic, and we'll make it happen. It was a great solution, because I was like, well, we're just going to like scramble and talk about the topic that's there. But that's an example of inconsistent messaging that creates a sense of dissonance or distrust in what people are seeing. So prime example that happened today in my own company. It was fixable, it was solvable, it's not a big deal, but also, guess what? It would have been a problem if we'd just blazed through it. The next thing I wanted to talk about was changing it up when it doesn't work. The first point that we talked about was you have to have a strategy and stick to it, but also knowing when to say, this doesn't work, or this used to work, but it's not working anymore. Those two things are like, when people just run the same pattern time after time, year after year, it gets stale. We have clients that have been with Elle Marketing now for like 5, 6, 7, 8 years. They've been with us for a long time. And we review their strategy on a quarterly basis to switch it up, to discuss what's working, what's not working, how we can change it. But my first couple of years in business, we would just like do a social media strategy and run with it. And then, after a little while, the numbers start dipping. They're not getting the results they want. And I realized that we needed to be innovating much more often and comparing and contrasting, and also trying new things. Like maybe you keep doing the regular things and then you toss in something new every now and then, just to see what happens when you do. So always be innovating while you are implementing. And then finally, the big thing is not using your data to make educated decisions. You can make intuitive decisions when it comes to marketing, especially if you don't have any data yet. But something that's really, really important is actually saying, what does the data back up the decisions that I'm making? So prime example, we had a client who did not have Google Analytics on their website. We didn't know for sure what was happening on their website. We didn't know when people were bouncing. We added on Google Analytics. We started tracking the numbers. We started seeing where people are entering and exiting the website. They were looking really good. And then we started doing Google ads, driving people to the website. Recently, that client put, and it's their busy season right now, this nonprofit, they put a pop-up on the homepage of their website that people had to click through to get to the website. And it was for something important, but we saw the bounce rate skyrocket, and we are doing ads driving people to the website. So guess what happens at that point? The bounce rate goes up and you are throwing your money away because you're paying for every person that clicks to the website. So we went back to the client. We didn't put the pop-up on there. We went back to the client and we were like, this pop-up is destroying your numbers. And then we said it again, and then we said it again. And finally they're like, okay, I get it. We're not going to do that. And so that's something else, like use your data to educate yourself on what you should be doing and what you should not be doing. So again, here are a few marketing mistakes and how to avoid them. You have to have a strategy and you have to stick to it. You have to know your audience and actually talk to them and pivot your content if it's not working for your specific audience. You need to have consistency in your messaging. If you are inconsistent, it will create this dissonance where people don't trust you. Don't be afraid to change it up when it isn't working or when it has been working and suddenly stops working. Figure it out. And then finally, not using data to make your decisions. Those are the biggest marketing mistakes you can make. That's how to avoid them. And if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out. We would love to help and support you in your marketing journey. Thanks again for tuning in.